TSM, they answer right back in that second map with buying their map pick. And welcome back everybody to VALORANT Challengers North America. It was a 13-11 lemon. It seemed like it was going to be very one-sided, similar to what we saw on the map number 1. But that second half, Fluffy almost made a comeback.
Yeah, these are just offense type of teams. I don't know what to tell you. Like TSM, started sunset on the defense and got kicked in like 11-1, whatever that half was. And I'm like, oh, let them cook on this offense though when it comes to buying. And sure enough, a 9-3 start definitely is going to help the morale, especially winning pistol, which I think is always a boon to building momentum. But they also were just good at executing and really sold these fakes well.
Yeah, somehow, if it comes down to TSM winning this series, TSM better be taking out 7 for a steak dinner because that 3K clutch that he's gotten, or I think it was a 4K clutch that he's gotten on a pulse plant, the 4K that he got in a retake, got it in a 3K running back from A main spawn into the A site for the retake. I mean, he was top dog for sure.
Sickle mode.
Exactly. He was able to carry all of TSM into his backpack. And 7 basically is like an all-star player for the team now.
Honestly, and it's not something new. It's not the first time that we see 7 have such a good performance in a map. A performance that is honestly life-changing for the team to keep them alive in this series, to take us to that map 3. And especially on that Gecko, I've been saying it and we've been saying it. 7 on the Gecko, just it fits so well and it does so good. But as we talked about, Fluffy Aimers were making that comeback. It was 5 rounds in a row. It was just that last one, the 4K that TSM gets, that doesn't allow them to take the series to overtime. But they were looking pretty good on the second half. And TSM, hey, I mean, if you can take the win, you take it, Lemon.
For sure. And I think this gives you a lot of confidence going into Split coming up. But Fluffy Aimers, that was quite a comeback to even do. Like, to be down 3-9 going into the second half and having to play some pretty perfect offense, especially at the end to almost get OT going. It was great. And there was a lot of impact from these Gecko players because that is the agent that can reuse its intel and create more and more opportunities, while the Sky, you got the 2 birds, a Trailblazer, depending on how much money you're using, and then you're getting that, using that a lot for information, hopefully keeping 1 flash in the pocket for sure. But Pancakes and 7, it was really up to them to establish their teams on these sites.
And it definitely looked like for Fluffy Aimers, this map actually should have gone into overtime because you saw the amount of rounds that Fluffy Aimers were able to get back to back, until we got to a point where TSM pulled a timeout, and off the timeout decided to do a Hail Mary showstopper down to try to win the map, right? So it looked like for the ideas of what they're trying to do on the defensive side, they were figured out, right? Jonah was being able to move up, work up towards the A side. They were able to insert players too, have perfect timings against the setup that TSM was doing, and capitalize on wins. And it had to come down to round number 24 for 1 singular player to move in and get a 4K to finish the round and finish the map for TSM to be able to win. If not, I feel that this definitely should have gone into overtime where Fluffy Aimers would have continued that momentum to potentially even win and close out map 2.
Yeah, it could have been a 2-0. And like you said, it was only that last round that guaranteed it was not going to go that way. For TSM, towards the beginning, that 9-3, it seems like we were going back to seeing that TSM be dominant, confident in their map pick, especially because what we talked about towards the beginning of this map, where we mentioned it was a Fluffy Aimers that haven't played this map of mine in quite some time. So there was that space to work with for TSM, but it was a Fluffy Aimers that individually and as a team as well were coming back. So at this point, I'm more than anything concerned for TSM as we head into Split. That is going to be our map number 3 to see who's going to close out this series, Lemon. And I feel like we're going to be seeing a little bit more of the same. Before the series today, I was putting TSM as a team to win, but now I feel like Fluffy Aimers is taking it.
I feel like whoever's on offense first is going to have like a really solid lead to win the map. I don't know. That's just the trend that we're seeing. Whoever's on offense gets the huge lead and then kind of closes out from there. But hey, at least we have more recent results or tape when it comes to Fluffy Aimers on Split. They played against SAD. It was 13-9. Really standard stuff. More of the breach and fade with the Astra. It's their take on Split, while as on the other side for TSM, They won this against Blinn pretty recently, 13-10. That was pretty close, with maybe a more standard Sky single initiator double controller. So to summarize, Fluffy Aimers like the double initiator on Split, while as TSM like double controller.
My take when I was looking at this series and we're looking at the map vetoes and also seeing the scoreline of that first map for Fluffy Aimers, I was still ready to stand to say this should be a victory here for Fluffy Aimers. But Seven just started to activate, and he was really dropping bombs here on that second map. And one thing that I do remember from TSM when they won with a sub, remember, sure played on that map for TSM where he just had to do some standard Cypher stuff, never playing a Cypher before, yet they were still able to capitalize on a dub. And that was once again off the back of Sim and Seven. But Seven not only goes hand in hand with a Gecko, I also feel that he plays a really good Sky on this map. It's almost seeing like when I'm looking at Saucy, for example, at Sentinels, it's like, oh, Saucy's going to play Sky on Split. Everything's going to be fine. He's going to lock in and get multi-kills. And Seven, I felt like he did that last week as well against Blinn. So this is going to be a map that could go definitely back and forth. And on momentum, that's been really on both ends, right? On Fluffy Aimers, they won 13-01. On map 2, it's just Seven popping off. So it could be our whole team against Seven. Who's going to win?
It can really be any of these two teams taking that series, especially with that momentum that you're able to grab from that second one. Yeah, the last couple of runs didn't go your way, but you're able to close it out. And this is the motivation that you need on the side of TSM to take that map number 3. Now, let's jump into the agent select, because what you guys are mentioning about these compositions is so interesting to me. Fluffy Aimers, they're playing, and they've been playing with this Fade and Breach as the initiators, which is not something that we're used to seeing. And on the other side, actually, TSM is playing with the Deadlock, so we have something new here. Vance, I feel like I wouldn't know your thoughts on this one, but for you, Lemon and Vance, I'll let you take this last map away.
Let's argue.
Hello.
Which comp do you like the most?
Dude, this is gonna be
Pick your favorite.
because right now TSM's pulling out a. The thing is TSM's pulling out a Deadlock. And also Seven, that was praising on a Sky, is now going back to the Sentinels on this map. I'm not against it, because usually on a map like Split, Seven plays it. And they're going to give the Sky roll to Poise. That's also one of his main agents. So I don't think that they're overcooking at this point, because you're still playing comfort roles. It's just now, can you activate with a Deadlock? And they're playing double Senti on the attack side first. I'm not against it either, because the Deadlock's going to be used more on the attack. And I think I've seen like Darkest, if I'm not mistaken, or even VCT Esports that used a Deadlock on this map were quite good in how they were able to prevent these pushes and his rotate coming out from spawn. So I'm going to... Man, I was praising TSM the whole time, but I'm still going to go with Fluffy Aimers. Man, I have to stick with my prediction, right?
You've been converted to the Church of Fluffy. Welcome.
I stay with Fluffy. I stay with Fluffy in my prediction at the beginning. So I have
sure.
to. I just have
yeah,
to.
I think you were cooking with those predictions. And since the Deadlock was just used on Vine, you might as well just stick to what you know, which is apparently getting stunned up, trying to get through ramp. So Fluffy Aimers have the crossfire at A main, but are smoked off. TSM fight for heaven control with no one from Fluffy Aimers even up here. And as rotates came in from Bones and Jonah, they got smoked off from heaven. So it feels like TSM have the power positions. It is 4v4. TSM still have to actually get on the site to plan, and Pancakes with Bones from behind. I'm so surprised Fluffy Aimers shut all of this down.
Yeah, simply done there for Fluffy Aimers. They probably understood, and if they actually have been paying attention to how the Deadlock is being played here on this map, and remember I was talking about Darkest over at SAD, they are able to leverage the Deadlock walls on the attack to wall off spawn on the A side, or even just wall off the back spawn on B. So it almost felt like the pathing was really telegraphic for TSM side, because they put so many resources just to try to get a proto up there with Sim to take control of heaven. Everybody else just hid in the smoke and played towards screens and got the picks when the rest are trying to execute in, and they had the better crossfire towards the end. And now TSM looking to gamble for a five-player hit towards the B site to at least get a plant on a classic save.
Jeez, every time TSM want to jump in and get active, they're getting stunned, they're getting grab well, they're getting smoked. They sent the dog to just distract them, but TSM are gonna grab orb and dip, as a Proto can always stand by. Maybe TSM want to fight for heaven, but overall, mid seems open.
Yeah, and to go back to the question, which comp that I like more here, I think both of these compositions are actually quite good on a defense, right? Because you're playing double sentinel for TSM, you're going to be able to stall a lot, and you could do exactly the same, or very similar things. Once Fluffy Aimers, you see with the Astra what she could bring to the table. And now with these classics, nothing you can really do here. Hold off maybe from Poise, but yeah, that's the round here for Fluffy Aimers. So we'll have to see if TSM is able to do the same type of suppression that Fluffy Aimers could pull out now with the Astra and Cypher, with the amount of stall that they could do with that comp.
I mean, I kind of cast a curse it when Dryad's like, who do we think's gonna win? I'm like, oh, whoever gets on offense first, but it's a whole different beast. Fluffy Aimers definitely more on the prevention side of things, to not let TSM just run amok wherever they wanted, because that's kind of what Bind felt like. Wherever TSM went, they owned that real estate, and Fluffy Aimers just had to sit back and gunfight, which only favored them sometimes. TSM will leave the spike behind for a default.
And a default is just trying to hear the rotates out, and it looks like GMD is going to be able to hear at least a raise moving up towards heaven. And it seems to be a gamble, a read that they think they have here for Fluffy Aimers. 3 players moving towards the area, trying to punish 7, and they do.
Wow. And Fluffy Aimers kind of utilizing those, not Sunset strat, but the overall strat of playing numbers, playing the buddy system, and Bones didn't get that memo. Fluffy Aimers will at least trade now that Neptune steps up. And this offense is dwindling for TSM when they're split from each other. Like, GMD is on the B side, TSM are still fighting for heaven, so some wires got crossed and Fluffy Aimers take the bonus.
And I'll take that. I think that's still pretty good. It's despite the default that looked like GMD was able to make it through, or would be able to make it inside this B site. What I did like here for Fluffy Aimers is that they kept basically the initiators with the raise together, just to be a death ball and be the ones that are rotating across. Yes, leave B open for a bit, but if you're able to maximize and capitalize on that first blood, on that pick, and then just continuously move on or rotate together to guarantee these trades around that double initiator utility, I mean, you're in a good spot. Now they have a 5-4-3-2-1 Care Bear countdown scoreline for Fluffy Aimers as they converted their bonus in first contact, spotting players. Oh, a wall bang that does some damage, but GMD falls towards B.
That's tough. So TSM will have to abandon ship. At least the B ship. The A ship could still be afloat. Some stars out the front door and some Cypher trips. Jonah has eyes on heaven. Probably why Fluffy Aimers are okay with not even having someone sit in heaven. But TSM, their issue was dealing with Pancakes, who was on the site before. Now no one actually directly on the site this time. TSM don't know that. They will flash in. Stagger past the smoke. Benefits TSM in that trade with the showstopper. It barely sails past the body of Fluffy Aimers. And the retake looks good with the 2-on-1 going into heaven. Spike in hand for a Proto who planned it in a safe position.
This is tough. He's trying to figure out where he can throw his net, and he doesn't want to throw it because it kind of just keeps him pinned. And finally, he throws it towards the screens so they know that he's still holding default.
Oh, Decade! A Proto back on his feet, blinded, and just one thing to worry about. What's behind you? And the shadow lurks, and Fluffy Aimers on a hot streak.
And that's what I was talking about, right? He's throwing this wall towards the screens, but unfortunately blocked himself out where he can't really escape. So he just left himself pretty much dead to rights, which allows here Fluffy Aimers to get 4 rounds in a row. And remember last map when I said I wanted to criticize on a little bit of utility out from TSM, it was unfortunately on a Proto. There was a couple of these walls when he was trying to throw out towards the defender spawn behind the APC on Bind, and still left gaps to come through here for Fluffy Aimers to just still rotate back from pipes to even get U-Haul control. So there is still a little bit of practicing or min-maxing that you need to do here on this deadlock for a Proto. It has to be a new agent that he plays now throughout this stage, because we always know him more as, you know, the Cypher player for the team usually, or as a player overall. When you hear the name of a Proto, you think about a Cypher with a Sheriff. It's something that he still has to get used to right now with a deadlock in this comp.
Cage triggered.
Now fighting for ramps. TSM have left the spike behind. GMD lurk at B. They got the Prowler that checks out Heaven and the camera in place from 7. Staring down the other camera, so no, it's no man's land for A Heaven, but mid open as usual for TSM. But then there's also a crossfire from Fluffy Aimers on the left side. And Sim will just lock down the one. A Proto pushed up past to thinking that was all that she wrote. Rolling Thunder down into mid, shakes up TSM. They get back on their feet, and Fluffy Aimers couldn't do much off that Rolling Thunder.
Love this call from GMD. Hold back, re-hit. Thinking fake that we rotated. Now that we site B, they could convert a 4 or converge a 4 versus 2 there.
Bones, oh, showstopper. That'll take care of Poise, couldn't lock on to 7 in time. TSM 3 versus 3. Pancakes has been revealed. The one tap headshot. That's pretty nice. 9 seconds left. Not so nice for 7. But pressure there. No theft, knowing just how close Jonah is. And wow, what a shot.
Very nice in the end for a 7 after all, because he threw the neural theft to nowhere. His doppelganger was going to be off the rotate, goes for the jiggle, and just pre-fires the shot. And that beautiful entry from Sim to start things off. We talked about like the beauty that they have here for the double initiator to go around the raise on the defense so far for Fluffy Aimers. But yeah, I like this template that you still have on that one Sky, the raise, and also a Proto from behind so they could wall off one sector so that Sim could just focus on what's in front of him to get that first blood. Now another round here that was won off the back of 7, allowing TSM to get the first point on the board. And no trap plays being set up here. This is going to be off the contact of Bones on the top of B Heaven before the fault line, the flash can come out.
Okay, Pancakes just heard Sky Flash. And Bones falls out. TSM are already halfway into mid, causing an aftershock from Pancakes, and TSM have already escaped into sewers. Fluffy Aimers pretty happy with this exchange, I would think. You know, minus the damage. The map control is what really matters here.
Well, the thing is, I'm actually going more on TSM side because you have to use an aftershock and nades on top of that, and you don't have a C's anymore. So if TSM is able to move within a site here with more bodies, you have less util now for FAIM for the retake. And especially now when you've used that first wave of utility for Fluffy Aimers and you have no way to find like late information except for this Fade, she's actually not there to help out. So they're weak side towards A. 4 versus 2 on that site.
Oh, the flash right onto the site. Which actually goes behind Mame. Annihilation captured someone, but Mame is a pillar that will not be buried. The Annihilation may get Pancakes. Mame said, "This is my ace.
Left.
Out of my way, boy." 8 seconds, and TSM can't get the spike. So, shout out to Mame for winning that round.
And what util was left here for TSM when they're trying to enter the site? I mean, the Annihilation did catch one, but I guess it didn't accept two. They didn't expect, rather, for TSM 2 players playing behind that map, right? The first one gets cocooned. It's like, okay, well, nice. There's not going to be anybody else. And then there's no communication coming out on the first kills and the shots from Mame because he's playing a Phantom through the chaos. And then suddenly he picks up 4 kills like that. That's unfortunately unacceptable. And I think the coach realizes that as Faded now calls the timeout to just make sure that these communications are clear when they're doing these executions. I don't think it was chaotic because it was still like, what, 30 seconds left at least?
Yeah. Poise's flash also went pretty deep. More of maybe an info flash, I guess. But like you said, when they had limited options, didn't have, I don't remember if they had Heaven control. I think they were kind of running out of time with the scuffle that happened mid. So TSM just had the flash and it went behind and didn't really secure, didn't really deny that vision. So especially having to cross through the smoke. Thank goodness for this replay, because that star also caused a lot of confusion. You come out, you have to check so many angles. The one in hell, the one in heaven, in screens, and on the right. So a lot on TSM's plate there.
Definitely. And now TSM is going to have to go back into a lower buy. It looks like, I mean, GMD's taking to a Vandal and Shields. it's a hero vandal, but at the same time, I feel that he's starting to feel that pressure and that anger here that they let these rounds slip. Because his economy is not going to be the best going into the next round. He might still have shield or something like that with the Vandal, but he definitely looks like he wants to try to make a play here for TSM to salvage the rounds back in their favor.
Oh, Mummy. Take somebody over on the ramp side. The Prowler cleared through ramps, so TSM still at their starting positions.
Yeah.
Their Prowler this time through ramp, and it allows Bones to take a more aggro position. He has paint shells and a boom bot. He's got Neptune with the haunt as well. There's the boom bot. Neptune, worthy sacrifice. Bones will satchel the competition away to buy himself some time to fade into ropes. TSM with first blood, stepping up with the advantage. They've already dogged up main. Pancake's playing this corner where the smoke is. TSM could be walking straight into a trap, but they fight for heaven instead. And Fluffy Aimers are just pushed off these power positions, and TSM have just manipulated the map in their favor.
Last player standing.
Such
30
good
seconds
patience
left.
by TSM from A to Z after that timeout. Watching each other's backs this time around. Seven, it looked like he was going to get fade-nated in that corner. Poise pulls out the heel, keeps him topped up, and while the two players are tunnel vision to try to take him down and overswing, they swing out to like 3 other players waiting for them, and they get the opening kill for TSM. Then they watch each other's back, scaling slowly into heaven, getting the block off, making sure that they're not going to get killed from behind here from Bones that was stuck inside vents, and then you see all these picks happening through. So I like that. A Thrifty, some basic Valorant, stick to the funnies, stick as a group on your Thrifty, and get these picks and get the round in your favor. Now they're just trying to get rid of the rifle away from Jonah, and they finally do so, and they're able to upgrade actually 3 weapons on top of that in their lower buy, in their Thrifty. That should have been theirs here for TSM, and they put value out of the timeout in that round number 7.
And at least you got the neural theft, so take dubs where you can. Fluffy Aimers, it's been good defense. Now you're forced to have some lower buys with just the Judge and the Spectre, but hey, you got a couple of hero rifles, so Fluffy Aimers seem balanced, but how do they coordinate where this Judge goes? Mame will be holding B by themselves mostly. TSM won't even get info off that camera.
Yeah, as he gets shot off right away, though, at least they know that it's somebody playing out in the open. Usually that camera to know if anybody's playing close or not, despite if the camera gets broken. So they can readjust on that, right? Knowing now that the Cyphers is full all the way back towards elbow, they could start scaling up and taking control here of A ramp. While the rest are keeping the defenders busy towards middle, they could all slowly group up and maybe even pop towards this A site. Especially with the crouch under. Poise is too tall.
That haircut. Gonna go for the slick back next time, but hey, Fluffy Aimers think mid is open and Sim is not holding the flank any longer. And that means Pancakes can upgrade from the Spectre to a Vandal. Fluffy Aimers now have to retake. Prowler gets caught by the cage there from the deadlock. And TSM will get denied the ramps as GMD teleports.
Oh, he's screwed.
Oh, yeah. I thought that was going to be his escape. Now there's a neural theft and a 5v3, and Shona's online. And well, you got the Prowler to get themselves on site. TSM are surrounded and conquered.
It was super important for the players to stay alive here towards the site, but also those 2 players towards the ramp, just because of where that plant was really set up here for TSM in towards the end. You're just trying to make sure that you contain towards the ramp, that you force Fluffy Aimers to use their ults and push back towards the A site, and at least you could have those 2 players on the A ramp to take control of heaven and play the pulse bind in that way. But if not, these crouch peeks, I haven't seen this since Counter-Strike 1.6 coming out here from the crouch walk out of Pancakes to get that kill with a Spectre. I know Sean Garris is gonna like that little shout out, but nonetheless, that was a nice little retake towards the end for Fluffy Aimers off the mistakes of the off positioning, the off angles, and being out in the open with their util here and punishing GMD at the A ramp to allow Fluffy Aimers to just maintain control here of their lead on split.
And how, because you don't have a Viper, Fluffy Aimers have to invest intel, or both of them, util, to get info. Prowler from Neptune and a perfectly timed swing. The C's going out to kind of lock TSM down and allow Neptune to get it back to the high ground. TSM lose a Proto, which, out of all the people, your Sentinel in this case, especially Deadlock, isn't too bad to lose. TSM will still have a flash.
They'll still have good utility to get towards this site, so they don't necessarily need the wall to block off our response, so that's a good shout.
Oh, showstopper, dog. Present thyself. Fluffy Aimers nowhere to be found. 404, no defense. But they're all in heaven. And look how far GMD is clearing out with Sim. TSM are trying to have the numbers when they take these engagements against Fluffy Aimers. With how much TSM have cleared at the backside, they know this can only come from one direction, and it's heaven, and there's no flanks, but this backstab too from Poise coming up. He gets dealt with though, and GMD pinches from the front. The neural theft activated for 7, trying to see when the drop down happens, and 7 and Sim lock on heads, but it's Pancakes that thrives on.
There was no reason here for Poise to already start walking further up towards Mail. Thankfully, on the first time that he peeks his gun out towards Mail, when Pancakes was watching it, he just left that corner. But to continue to push forward, when you already threw a smoke here on the defense, and there was no engagement coming out from the defenders back outside towards heaven, you should have just waited that out. Wait for the contact, wait for the shots to happen for you to flank behind. And because he died early there, well, it just allowed for the rest here of Fluffy Aimers to just run down towards this B site and get their fundamentals right and get their trades perfect here so that Pancakes can get the last kill in the defuse. So a big mistake there, costly for TSM. Down now by 5 rounds. And they're on, again, a Guardian Vandal buy and trying to get value out of a 5-player death ball towards this A site.
Pancakes has Rolling Thunder, so best of luck to TSM. How they're gonna hold their ground against an ult like that. Now Jonah is denying vision. Insane read on the Sim. And 7 is denied to TSM in a 2v2. They have the Annihilation. They can be brought down to singular duels. A Proto could give them the edge, and there's the Rolling Thunder to try and deny the plan, but it's too late. And GMD teleports away from where that Rolling Thunder could come from. Annihilation is brought out, and it's all up to a Proto in the 1v2, and trying to deny the liberation of his friend. Mame will die nonetheless, and Pancakes at 30 HP. The barrier comes out for a Proto. Oh, wait, and Pancakes too! The simple clutch for TSM!
That was so sick. The Rolling Thunder was actually being used to just try to punish the A ramp once again, but GMD just said not twice. As he gets hit by the Rolling Thunder, TP's out into safety to allow A Proto to get a little bit more space and value out of this Annihilation. So you went back and forth towards these ults, you got great value out of it, and that net that he threw, instead of pushing forward, instead of putting a sonic sensor, he plays the rest of the utility to his favor and to T to allow TSM to get that round. And now FAIM are back into an eco, and TSM has an opportunity to close that gap now. As we mentioned, a couple of these mistakes happening from TSM on these pulse plant scenarios, at least the ones that have to anchor up towards these pulse plants opportunities, or able to seize that opportunity, rather.
Oh, the dog is gonna catch Bones early, and he doesn't care. You're trapped in here with me. Call an ambulance, but not for me. And Bones got the spike down too. It's only a Proto that can try and recover this coming from sewers, and Bones challenging everything. And TSM can't get a leg up to save their life.
Nope. And that's just it. Fluffy Aimers do not want to give a chance here for TSM to just fight back, to just get the momentum back in their favor, and they just crunched back. Just simple push out towards the A main and winning just those gunfights. Look at that value that it got off the fault line in the Prowler. Again, so much value off the double initiator supporting the duelist to push forward and get all of these kills on a Thrifty.
Wow. Bones really sent the house, and it paid dividends. Holy cow, what a push. Especially with the Prowler, that would make you kind of panic. That would make you want to get to a safer position, not for someone like Bones, and that rewards him with the showstopper. And he's leaned over at the A side, TSM. Last round of the half. I've been able to walk up mid because, hey, there's no Viper. There has to be Utila checks. This vents is left open. Dog is going to go check it out, but also in mail. And hearing that at least the aftershock is coming from heaven. TSM know one problem they got to deal with. And this is stacked with almost 3 or 4 members from Fluffy Gamers, although Neptune is Prowler, using a Prowler at A. TSM have knocked on the door, and it's Bones. That is still a menace to TSM. Naproto will lock onto Pancakes with the Sheriff, with the broken bye. TSM will do what they can, but a Nightfall lands on their lap. And TSM gets up in the corner. Their backs against the wall, biting back against Fluffy Aimers.
No way that this is happening. They had such a nice little trap play to delay and deny off the trip getting broken, yet
Enemy down.
the shots are ringing in favor of TSM.
Cage triggered.
Jonah
30 seconds
has
left.
to pick what side. Ring. Not ring around the rosy, but what's under door number 1? No, door number 2. The Cosmic Divide almost helps him. Now I only see purple. Thanks. Oh, because we swapped to a Proto who's playing inside the smoke. And as the dust settles, it's a fantastic round for Fluffy Aimers.
It stayed purple like that because you needed to have the Cosmic Divide up so that Jonah could just swing across. And as he has control of that side, then you know here for Mame that there's nobody actually playing on the other side of the wall. You could just hold W and start moving forward. So they could double swing off the wall and then just go for the high-low and then somehow win all the 2 versus 3 on the trades in their favor and manage to come out of it unscathed to win the round for Fluffy Aimers and to put them at 9.
I'm glad you could see through all the colors in the smoke. I'm sure that was just as confusing for them. But 9-3 half, Fluffy Aimers. What a bounce back after probably a demoralizing map too, when you just thought you were that close to going into OT, when you planted and things look smooth, and then 7 just comes and 4Ks you. So Fluffy Aimers definitely making up for that. A heavy lean towards B, but there is a Cypher chip right at the door and a camera from 7 checking them out.
Most important pistol round now for TSM. 4 ghosts, a net available, a wall available for a Proto, so they could try to hold up mid if they do get any contact. It might be the case here. The jump spot sees it, and FAIM are looking for this 3-2 split.
Fluffy Aimers step into B, smokes in place, and Bones gonna climb up here? Just trying to get the upper hand. Jonah's lurk doesn't work out mid, so TSM can stay focused on shredding down Fluffy Aimers. There's the aftershock to pressure out heaven. Fluffy Aimers extend to the back of the site. And GMG and Naproto have made this a difficult round for Fluffy Aimers, and at the end, it's TSM with the retake.
Surprising, too, that when the wall came down that you still wanted to play out in the open and to challenge that wall. Anyway, again, I guess it just came down to a 1v1 at that part where a Proto was able to capitalize and take advantage of that, which allowed then for the rest of TSM to just focus on coming out from B heaven and also towards the spawn to retake the site. And I think it looked questionable why we were going up the rope and trying to get these surprise kills is just because they lost their first player in the first place in that duel against a Proto, that they felt they had to make a move, especially when Bones was already at a spot, at a position, whereas wasn't really checked by any players from TSM on the top of B heaven. And all they had to do was wait the smoke here through the rope to get the second blood and to retake the round here for TSM.
Oh, this judge gonna hurt. Oh, and Fluff Aimers are walking towards it. Everybody, wave goodbye to Bones. Bye, Bones. Bye, Bones. Or, unless he's gonna frag out with the Sheriff. I don't know. If there's anyone, it's him. Now, bye, Bones. But anyway, so first blood for TSM.
Bye, Sim.
And that's what I get. Bye, Sim. Caster cursed you. My bad.
Well, at least it's walled up here and blocked. Neptune trying to make a play, but he heard the footsteps of Poise rotating across. He's alone here. I mean, it's probably on a one and done, which is fine. They are on a thrifty on their side, so after engaging into a Cypher and the Sky, they know now that there's potentially only one player left towards the B site, and they want to punish it here for FAIM.
Neptune took that bullet like a champ. Like, he took 20 damage, was able to leave after hearing how many people were jiggle peeking on the other side of that door. But it's also TSM with barely any map control, no heaven.
30 seconds left.
Barely there at screens. A Proto by himself with the Spectre on the site. Best of luck. Boys will try to support him, and the Proto will get the trade, but someone got that judge. Either way, Fluffy Aimers 2 versus 2, but with how split GMD and a Proto are, all they have to do is prevent the plants, and Pancakes is not safe enough to go for it. TSM have brought this down to a death match that only a Proto will win.
Didn't look like they were going to win it in the first place, though, because Proto once again had to come up huge to be able to hold that site. But how did we get through here? How did we sneak around towards vents? Where I wonder if it was just going behind the Prowler off a net, because the trip was still up here towards the middle of the site, the middle of the map, on the top of the staircase of Mail, when FAIM was able to get through it on that backstab kill. So something that TSM has to pay attention of. This is something that you know, Mitch did already in the past with OXG, with the dog. Or was it MXS, actually, when Flyer got through, which we're going to see next, by the way, after this series.
Stay tuned.
But they have to be aware now for TSM when they're placing this trip towards middle. Could have been a round that they would have bit themselves for, but it doesn't look like their bonus is going to be the best going into round number 15 here.
With the smokes in place, Fluffy Aimers are just not making contact with anything. You know, someone's on the site. Haunt didn't reveal much either from Neptune. So Fluffy Aimers could check out mid. See how that goes. You still got a Prowler, and then you got another Prowler left after that. So, but how many more scans can Fluffy Aimers do? They haven't really figured out what TSM's setup is yet.
Yeah, just default and working off the map. But right now, they just want to make sure, because they know that TSM has a lower buy, they will definitely have weapon advantage. So just try to stick to their tried and true, sticking together, and they're going to execute towards this A site.
30 seconds left.
Bones got hit by a trip, I think, as he was satcheling in. Something stopped him. His momentum completely halted. And Seven trying to reload, doesn't know where that smoke is coming from. Fluffy Aimers 3 versus 4 doing their best, and Poised with the judge. He's ready to just dent in Fluffy Aimers. And this bunker around the spike. GMD teleporting above is insane, and it was trying to distract for Poise. The timing just a bit off, and Jonah converts 4.
And I think he just saw as he TP'd, and then you just had his life flash before his eyes with that meme where the freeze frame goes, and this is where he knew. Because just when he TP'd, he saw, I think that was a sleeve of Jonah swinging out here towards the map. He's like, I won't be able to win this. And then unfortunately here, when they were trying to sell that fake, didn't work out. And Poise couldn't line up the last 2 kills with that bait. And Fluffy Aimers now are able to slowly run away here with this second half, converting their gun round with actually a lot of players still alive left. And they're looking pretty healthy here in round number 16. TSM trying to answer back now. Full shields across the board with the exception of Poise. And early aggression, I like that now. They tried to run through again behind that Prowler, and this time, Sim and a Proto were ready for that with the crossfire.
The second time that Bones has been caught by Util. Just really well played by TSM, and despite TSM getting first bloods, Fluffy Aimers, they can play at these deficits. 3v4. It's not over, but look at the mini-map. Like, Fluffy Aimers are social distancing. Guys, it's over. You don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, the thing is, they're just trying to get Mummy across, and he was kind of left alone here, so thankfully, a Proto was in there to just catch him off the cross. If not, that would have been terrible news for FAIM. But now they have a chance to walk into the site and go for a plant because of Pancake's position here towards screens.
There. 30 seconds
Fluffy
left.
Aimers finally go for the plant 2 in screens. No paranoia. Just Sim with vibes and 2 satchels and concussing TSM back.
Oh, so
and
good.
they don't check the corner. I'm surprised GMD didn't kill both. This is still a good setup. Neptune takes back control of Heaven. 2v2.
No.
It's just about clutch power nightfall from Neptune. 7. You just can't do much against that, not knowing where the danger is coming from. Fluffy Aimers 2 rounds away from taking the series.
He had the trigger discipline thinking that they're going to push towards the spawn. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of his teammates were spotted on the rotate. So they panicked and fell back, and GMD couldn't line up the 2 kills right there. Unfortunate. And because not getting that kill, Neptune is able to get a backstab kill, set the crossfire setup on the top because Pancakes is still alive, and then the Nightfall comes out to confirm where their last player would be. And unfortunately, what could have been such a nice play by GMD ends up being, unfortunately, a round loss for TSM because of that miss on that breach. And you can't fault him for that. And TSM are back here on a scrappy buy. High-low setup. I mean, not really a high-low setup. It's one next to the other here with Guardians. And they're hoping to land some shots. And Poise is already letting himself known.
They can just play off the contact from Poise or the camera that's sitting in Heaven. TSM have eyes and ears almost everywhere. Fluffy Aimers delaying too. They're playing the mind games as much as anyone else. With how quiet and unseen they are at A, they can make it look like they're just setting up for a satchel play at B main. You don't know.
A little bit late on the season 8, but at least they got some sort of map control towards A-ramp.
Careful. My eyes
Yeah,
are
and
down.
TSM's camera is out in Heaven. Knowing Fluffy Aimers have stepped up with ramp, you should expect them to be there, but it's a
30
fake.
seconds
Fluffy
left.
Aimers are heading from mid into male and pivoting to B. They get hit by a paranoia from GMD, who's gonna spray through the smoke. There's 4 people there. Keep shooting, GMD, and he'll get 3. TSM can thank him later. It's Pancakes in a 1v4. And 12 seconds left, it's cooked.
GMD, the IGL once again. Somehow, you have these rounds where he's just going to pop off in hectic scenarios. A Bulldog close range around his smokes and flicks into 3 kills. When it has such a scrappy buy for TSM on that previous round, and to convert it to their side, to have healthy upgrades, a healthy economy after those upgrades of those weapons. I mean, look at what they had to buy going into this round. It was basically Sim having to buy a Vandal because he's at 34, but the rest, it's just shields and abilities. So you have a chance to salvage some rounds here. Oh, they missed. Tried to Prowler Satchel across there to get a timing. And that's just going to slow the tempo here of Fluffy Aimers.
Bones catching these trips is util like no one's business, but at least this time not dying to it. With the Stinger, with Vibes, with mid control. But look at where Sim is set up at the ramp too. Could help assist TSM to push them back from Heaven if Fluffy Aimers want to take that. But with mid control, they're just... Now they have to deal with the deadlock cage, so that's taken care of. And TSM just playing the perimeter.
And that's totally fine, right? With the trap that you're trying to do with the satchels across the lower buy from FAIM. Now they could just turtle off here towards the B site and play A site a little bit more passively. Because they kind of have an idea that FAIM is pinned here towards middle.
The Annihilation did catch Bones. That's your carry. You gotta help him out. And the Annihilation claims it hungers. And so does TSM for a round win. There's still a lot of work ahead of them to catch up in this map.
And the last 3 or 4 rounds have had so much value on the trap placements that Seven's been putting here around A, around middle, towards the B site at main. So much value that he's doing so far, and that's the reason why they want to kind of put him on this agent on this map. Should they not want to play for that typical, you know, single initiator, double controller, Viper Omen composition, so that Seven could play that Sky role usually. But if not, if he has to play the Cypher role, he will do it in spades. and adding and providing so much value for TSM now on the defensive side.
First timeout for Fluffy Aimers. Okay. No choking allowed. Only dubs. Everyone lock in, as Triad would say in the green room right before we go live. And that's what Fluffy Aimers need to do. I don't think they really need to change too much. This has been a pretty back and forth half, but one that Fluffy Aimers just need to get a couple of rounds to close out. I'm not too worried.
Yeah, we've been here before, right? We've been here before.
Quite a few times.
It's been starting to look back and forth, at least here, between Fluffy Aimers and TSM in the second half. And now GMD is pulling out an op after the timeout. Something that Fluffy Aimers may not be ready for. Or maybe they are, because they have a Rolling Thunder too. And that might catch GMD on the top of this billboard with this op.
Oh, good night. Oh, Showstopper! Oh, Fluffy Aimers get out in time, and Paint Shells zones them out even more. Sim says, let me get this. I want my one. I didn't get the Showstopper. I got the Prowler, though. That's not gonna get you any money or any orbs, but
good map control, at least.
yeah.
And now Pancakes is hit down to 51, so the idea of trying to roll that Thunder back towards the B side gets fully canceled as Sim continues to push forward.
Wow. Can't believe he re-peaked that, too. Either way.
Confidence.
He's Giga Chad for that, for sure. Now 5v3.
Barrier deployed.
TSM claw back every round that they can. Cosmic Divide, Neural Theft, Jonah. All the corpses are on the other side of the map, so give me a corpse is not going to happen for a little bit. TSM have their own Neural Theft too, keep that in mind. But having control, and look at where...
Spike down.
Why is the spike back there, guys?
Yeah,
30
that's why they won't need a Neural Theft. When they look back here, as you're running down in numbers, it's a 3 versus 5. You're trying to play contact. You're trying to get behind enemy lines. But unfortunately, Mame's gun was sticking out here at the top of the window. And once the Proto saw that, the rest of the players for TSM were just kind of ready that there was some weak
10
spots that
seconds
they
left.
had to start looking towards to. And you saw that looking towards the screen, drops the spike here, Neptune falls. And then Jonah will have no choice but to save his rifle here and try to get value potentially maybe 2 rounds later, because FAIM should be now on an eco. Unless they want to half buy around the Vandal and up the tempo around the ults that they have, that could also be another play.
At least you got the Showstopper from Sim out of the way.
Spike down A.
I think they still have the op, right? So
Spike down A.
yeah,
Last
it's
player
one of those
standing.
Fluffy Aimers rounds where you just deal with a better duelist. He's going for the big playmaker move, and he's gonna try it even again this time with the help of GMD through B main. The Fluffy Aimers are gonna waste no time on the other side of the map, taking ramp, and up on ropes is Poise, who could throw out a bird, but until the smoke clears, there's nothing they could do, even if they blind somebody.
This could definitely happen, that you're going to leverage these ults here if you do have some sort of a trade and the ults are still up here. It comes down to this fight right here, and Poise needs value, and he avoids the Prowler.
Oh, Poise being so patient, and there is the spray down. TSM, they go 2 for 2, and Fluffy Aimers still have ults now. Not the Showstopper anymore. That's been denied. Mame and Jonah, with the stars back in place, can safely push up, but the Neural Theft from Jonah activated. GMD is exposed and is dancing around the pings and manages to barely get out. Fluffy Aimers dropping down from heaven. TSM holds screens. Plant will continue.
30 seconds left.
GMD, no paranoia, just a boom bot paint shells. Deadlock cage. TSM with not the best entry tools, except Sim with a Vandal. I can post up in heaven, try to get eyes on Fluffy Aimers, who can obviously just play their lives, can play out of line of sight. Jonah's at the corner and the one and done.
One enemy
Jonah with the 1v2, and it's possible. GMD's at 2. Jonah, oh, almost clutched, almost clutched.
The wall bang with the Vandal, almost clutch again. A situation where Fluffy Aimers were going to convert a 2 versus X with the Cosmic Divide. And thankfully, too, on top of that, winning that round, the IGL again. Remember that 3K with the Bulldog, this time at 2 HP, keeping TSM in the game and also keeping the op in the next round. This was dangerously close right now with the util and the economy that you had, Fluffy Aimers. And it becomes now a TSM win on the hashtag and hoping to bring this into a closer game, and they have the opportunity to do so.
This is like 4. I feel like TSM are on some kind of streak right now. They're making the comeback. 11-9. Fluffy Aimers haunting in vents. Male smoked off.
There.
Sim, how does he best utilize this op? I think
There.
definitely wants to respect that space a bit better and play B long. As now Fluffy Aimers have vents control, so where did they go from here? Is it heaven? Is it male? Gotta play off info.
And remember, they still have the ults, this time with weapons here. Pancakes, Rolling Thunder, Bones, Showstopper, grouped up now on a split, especially with the op down.
Wait, this op push up into B made, but hey, Fluffy Aimers. What a splash with Bones, Showstopper, 2K, Fluffy Aimers on the B site. And waking up a 7 and a Proto, rushing over from A with a neural theft, but not too much hope. They are very rich, so might as well see what she can get.
Oh yeah, you want to.
No
You're buying the
mistake.
next round. They would be on a semi, broken buy, something like that, small shields. They're trying to make it expensive for
One
TSM.
enemy remaining.
So far, not so good. Hey, got one for the road. And Mame picked up the op that Sim left behind, so that's always nice.
That's
Good
the
friend.
crazy part. For
Match
him to
point.
win a rifle versus, I'm pretty sure that was Sim pushing out and watching the angle with the op, and Mame was able to win that one. Look at that. You saw it on the kill feed. He gets this kill towards main, where Sim was basically posted up, and you are talking about somebody that's a cracked zoomer, aimer, that's able to land these type of shots and loses it to the guy that's been working Wall Street, Mame, putting money and value in that kill and putting FAIM at map and series point from that kill to allow for them to flood with those ults into the site. So of course you're going to force out the timeout from TSM to try to bring this into overtime.
When you said Wall Street, I was like, oh, Neptune like that? Well, what stocks he like? What's his favorite stock? But
I don't know where he worked Mame for on Wall Street, but he did in the
or
past.
Mame, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah. Fluffy Aimers, 1 round
Probably
away.
Dogecoin, right? Is that
Oh.
on Wall Street?
I'm sure that's what the kids like these days.
Yeah. Or GameStop stocks, and are we gonna short them again?
Didn't that die?
I don't know. I don't do stocks.
Okay, so you don't like money.
I love money. I just hate losing money. And I feel like I would do that with stocks. I need to talk to Mame after this game, and he can help me out.
Everyone looks very focused. Fluffy Aimers more horizontal. If we're judging on postures, they look very relaxed. TSM, I mean, they kind of wrapped up a couple of rounds in a row and built up their economy again, but all comes down to this round. And if Fluffy Aimers can close it out against all the ults that TSM have.
And it's slow here for FAIM. Just 3 players posted up here on this A side when the barrier comes up, just to see if there's going to be any aggression coming out here from the A site, especially with the camera coming up on towards the ramp and noticing that it's clear. Oh man, there's 4 players here. That 2 might get caught.
Bring them down.
Neptune's the GOAT. What do you mean? Oh, Prowler's gonna... You heard the satchel too, so... Will just be a stalemate for mid. TSM hoping to deny this too. They have, what, almost 4 people looking at it? Well, this time 3 of Protoss giving care to B, although the sonic sensors and the cage are there, so B is fully locked down. TSM can now focus their attention to A and mid, and this op heard at A long, smoked off. TSM do a good job of denying that space as much as they can.
Ooh.
With Heaven as a target for Fluffy Aimers.
And Bo's just got the wall bang onto Poised here as he's out in the dog. And they've given up the A space because of that. And they heard the TP from GD inside the site. There's good control here for Fluffy Aimers to get value depending where the kills are going to be coming from if they come in their favor.
Okay, Sim. Oh, he's being watched.
30 seconds left.
Oh, he's climbing up too. And at least I'll get two. Wait. Guy's a bot in the best of ways. Look at that aim. And now Sim, he's got the Nightfall though to worry about, and that gives a distraction for Fluffy Aimers to get the plant off. 3v3, poised dangerously low. No flash, just Satchel Boombot. That's all TSM have to work with on the retake. Sim down from ramps. They already knew he was in heaven, and he's got a friend for the trade. Poised, I mean. Just now walking up.
Last player
The delay
standing.
is nice. Pancake swings out. It's a Proto in the 1v2 to save this. And no, it's Fluffy
Attackers
Aimers
win.
that win the duel at the end to take the series.
My God, was that close here for at least TSM to stay in the game. Those shots
Neptune.
were snappy from both of the teams towards the end. We definitely woke up in that second half, in the third quarter, maybe even the fourth quarter, to give a chance here for another one of these maps that could have potentially gone into overtime. Because look at those shots that came through that were so nice, but at least here for Fluffy Aimers, they're able to control, especially on the defensive side here of this map, to be able to have finally enough cushion to close the series here, Dan. Sorry, Dan Dryad.
Yeah, I mean, I was about to not answer, but fine, I will, just because he just because he said Dan the first time, by the way, not the second time. But anyways, this series, it was another fake comeback. It almost took place. TSM were looking really good on the second half, and they were winning a couple rounds in a row, but it just, I mean, it was a little too late, right? That 9-3 was already saying so much for Fluffy Aimers, was helping them out so much in that matter that they closed it out too for Pancakes, that has been having such a good performance on this map of Split. I think it's just amazing, Lemon.
Yeah, these are both just really feast or famine type of teams. Like we noticed on all three maps, whoever kind of started a strong 9-3 or whatever strong start in the first half could usually close it out from here on out. I was just expecting it to be the offense, but it was Fluffy Aimers that started with pistol and just kind of led it from there.
Almost saw some resiliency coming out from TSM as well, right? Remember, a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away on the first map, it was a 13-1 victory for Fluffy Aimers. Yet it was a very long second map that TSM was able to close out, that you saw the comeback coming through from Fluffy Aimers, and an overtime was definitely possible. And then you had such a strong start here coming in from Fluffy Aimers on that third map as well. And then TSM started to fight back. I mean, the tenacity of this team, them having to play the comeback, them having to play a close third map, it's nothing new here for TSM. But we did mention it. This was going to be a battle for both of these teams where, you know, a victory or a loss would not mean too much for them, or at least in my eyes, because there's still two teams that are very good, and two teams are kind of like the gatekeepers of that mid pack that wouldn't allow those lower than them to move higher in the rankings, so they could still secure a spot here in the playoffs of like that 5th to like 8th seed or something like that, you know?
Right. And honestly, props as well to a Proto 7 as well. And these two players on the Sentinel role specifically were doing and bringing a lot of different creative ideas, even with the cables that we got to see from 7. We're catching this side of Fluffy Aimers off guard in a bunch of rounds. That's why they were getting a couple rounds in the second half. That's why it got closer than it was towards the beginning. And a Proto in the same, and some of those clutches that we got to see him, and even in the fragging department, he was absolutely there throughout. Just the Proto that we know and love to see. But for Fluffy Aimers, an absolutely deserved victory for this one. As you mentioned, it bans just when we bring it back all the way to that first map, that 13-1 was a statement. And even though that second and third map got closer, there was a little bit of a fake comeback on both sides happening. It's a better team who's able to close it out, and it really does settle them in the score for what we talked about at the beginning, the two teams being so close, but Fluffy Aimers closing it out. And with this new iteration of the roster, I think is amazing.
For sure. And I mean, TSM having the deadlock and having to start on offense isn't ideal, but Fluffy Aimers, I think this was a big information matchup, and I think the Fade gave him a lot of options of prowling, and of course you have the Sky on the other side who did the same thing, but the Breach was that extra layer of entry and that extra layer of pushback when it came to map control that Fluffy Aimers got the edge on.
Definitely felt like when you're looking at it from the side of TSM, though, that loss maybe not be too bad because outside of Turtle Troop in that Group B, everybody was kind of like 1-1 at that point, so you could still fight within that group. But there's definitely maybe some sound of alarm that needs to ring up. But at least here on the other side for Fluffy Aimers with Mame and crew, they've been looking pretty good with the evolution of the weeks that we've been seeing here on stage 2 to potentially see a better impact on that side with the further weeks to come.
Yeah, the evolution has been great for both of the teams, but especially for Fluffy Aimers now as we get to see them take this win against TSM. And to get to know the team once again a little bit more, we have a very special interview this time around. We have Pancakes on the line. And let's jump into the interview. Let's talk about it. Pancakes, congratulations on this win against TSM. The first thing that I want to ask you here is something that we've been talking about on the desk. When it came to the result that Fluffy Aimers and TSM have gotten in the past, you guys look very, very similar. 2-3 on split 1, 1-1 in the midseason cup, 1-1 in the week 1 and 2 that we see for the second split. So what do you think is the difference maker today for Fluffy Aimers to get the win?
Honestly, I feel like we just played really well individually today, which was really nice. Just to have us all, like, we're very individually but together at the same time, which is good. So I think it's just really good teamwork, especially playing against these deadlock comps that are like pretty annoying to play against. We just played well and adjusted well.
That is one of the things that I wanted to ask you as well, that deadlock that we saw on the other side for a Proto. That's not something that we're really used to seeing as much. I know sometimes teams and challengers, they like to bring something new, but how is the adaptation throughout once you see that it's going to be a deadlock that is being played on the other side?
Yeah, it's not like fun to play against deadlocks. You just have to play like really slow and like adapt like every round. We have to be like reading like where they're putting their trips and stuff and like how we're going to deal with it. So we just like it's kind of just like a lot of calling from everybody, just everyone putting in their few cents to play against a deadlock.
Yeah, and even bringing it back to that map number 1, that was a 13-1, which is crazy. We don't usually see a score that to go that way. And Fluffy Aimers, I mean, you guys did amazing on that map of Sunset. Is this a score that you expected? Is this just a really, really good map for you guys in scrims? Or was it, you think, I mean, you just kind of started winning rounds and you went with it?
I think we expected to do well on it. I don't know if we expected to do that well, but like we just had a really good start, which is just like 13-1 material. Once we win like round 5, we just started feeling good, and I got like in the flow state, I guess, calling, so it's pretty like easy. And then we also played well individually, so.
And it's a team for you guys that is looking really, really good. Is looking better and better every week as we get to see it. I want to ask you about one of the newest additions. Your duelist Bones is the youngest player right now that we have in Challengers. So how has it been to bring this guy and also have the just such a good performance by him that was even helping you out in that Sunset map?
I think he just like, he's really good for how young he is. Like his comms are good, everything's good. If we just get him like talking, every time he's like has talks, we just like play really well, and he just plays well individually. But he's like way better than anyone else I've ever played with. It's like 17 years old. He just turned 17, I think, too.
I thought he was, yeah, is it? Again, one of the youngest players, the youngest player for sure that we have in Challengers. It's amazing to see him performing so well and being the difference maker for so many rounds for you guys. I have one last question for you, and is the next couple matches for Fluffy Aimers are going to be M80, Dobros, and Turtle Troop. And honestly, with the way that you guys are looking, it seems like you can win all of those matches, but how are you feeling about them?
Yeah, we're just trying to like come back after that first like series loss versus Winthrop, and we're like slowly getting back in our form. So I think we're pretty excited to play against them. Just put on a good run through the group, try to make playoffs. I don't know like what we need to do to make playoffs, but I'm just planning on winning every match.
Whatever it takes, just keep winning. Just keep winning, and
Yep.
It seems like you're in the right path. You did it today, and it seems like we're definitely going to continue to see more of those wins. Pancakes, congratulations once again on this win. This is everything that we have for the interview, and now we have one more match to go. I know this first one was pretty long. It was a little back and forth between the two, but now for the next and after this break, we have Moy Shopify against Winthrop. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.